that Parker will come out with what he calls appropriate fear.
And Parker has been hot against the Grizzlies early, and the Lakers begin with a turnover as they try to get it into O'Neal, and it's out of bounds to San Antonio.
Yeah, unlike the Houston series where you saw them double-teaming Shaquille O'Neal before the catch, you're not going to see that as much in this series. So Shaquille O'Neal will be involved in this series.
Nesterovic gets free. He's a good shooter from the outside, and it's out of bounds off Tim Duncan.
And the more he can make shots from that elbow area, the further away from the basket Shaquille O'Neal has to come. So it's a key matchup.
He's the guy they picked up when David Robinson retired. Nesterovic had been with Minnesota. Was pretty much eaten up in the middle by Shaquille O'Neal when the Lakers knocked off the Timberwolves in round 1 last year. Gary Payton taking Parker into the lane, and then a little fall away is off the front of the rim. But O'Neal gets the rebound. Bryant goes in, and the first basket of the series belongs to Kobe and the Lakers.
And that's the way they want Kobe involved in this series. With Bruce Bowen, probably one of the top 2 defenders in our league that is a non-big, they don't want him trying to score off the dribble. They want him scoring off the ball.
And that's Duncan over Malone. Payton, who did a lot of sitting in the 4th quarter in the Houston series. To his consternation, that's out of bounds, and it's off Turkoglu. Devin George will inbound. Devin was a starter earlier in the year. Then Rick Fox came back from his broken foot, which he sustained last year in the playoffs. George lost his starting spot, but now midway through the Houston series, Jackson goes back to Devin George. Bryant comes up with it, but only 2 on the shot clock, and Duncan gets the rebound.
That's the way Tim Duncan has to dominate in this series. You know, he can't do it all scoring, so he has to do it all around.
The miss by Parker, and then O'Neal was able to tap it to Kobe Bryant. Going all over him, and that will be the case for the duration of this series. Malone from the corner. And the rebound to Nesterovic. 2 minutes into the game, the crowd, the noise ear-splitting in the SBC Center, which opened up last year, and they celebrated that inaugural year with a championship. Turkoglu. Bryant, who was tremendous in Game 5 against Houston, misses that one, and Duncan with the rebound. Turkoglu, and he walked with it.
I think Turkoglu wanted to take that shot. At the last minute, he saw Tim Duncan to the right of him and thought, you know, Tim Duncan is always a better option.
But it cost him on the turnover, so 2.5 minutes into the game. Each team starting out cold. The Lakers are 1 for 6. The Spurs are 1 for 4.
It reminds you of a prize fight. You know, they're sparring right now and trying to fill each other out. That's what you're going to see, Al, from Gary Payton. I think he's decided, Tony Parker, he is quicker than me. I'm more powerful. I'm going to try to score on him in the paint.
And make Parker play defense. Parker misses that one. And then Malone and Kobe are there. Kobe's able to save it. And bring it up to court for the Lakers. Runs into Bowen. There's no foul. Looking into Malone. Over Bowen on the switch, and Turkoglu gets the rebound. Turkoglu, who was with the Kings last year, came over in that 3-corner deal with Boston and Indiana in the offseason. Duncan now. And Tim Duncan.
If you give Tim Duncan that much space and time on the post, he'll score every time. And Karl Malone is a terrific defender, but that's just too much time to give the ball to Tim Duncan.
Here's Payton inside. And a loose ball foul underneath on the Lakers. Foul is on O'Neal his first.
Well, you can always tell when a foul's on Shaquille O'Neal. Just listen to the crowd. It's an easy gauge.
And he wound up in foul trouble in a couple of games in the Houston series. And then Phil Jackson had to leave him in a key situation. in the second game when he had 4 fouls early in the third quarter.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see him in foul trouble in this series unless he does it on his own. You know, Yao Ming went up against Shaq, and that's very difficult. He's not going to get that here. So if he picks up early fouls, it's because he's going over back or reaching, which he shouldn't do.
Malone over Duncan. So it's been 2-2, 4-4, now 6-4. We've already played 4.5 minutes.
I think Tim Duncan has to love right now the way the Lakers are guarding him.
Devin George reaching in.
I mean, they're not only going one-on-one, but they're staying very close to their players at home, so they're not going to give up the three. Right now, you can see they've decided that they're going to make Tim Duncan beat Karl Malone, and if you give Duncan too much time, I think it's very difficult to stop him because he's so sound of a player.
Greg Popovich, who's been here for the entire Duncan era with tremendous success, last year's Coach of the Year, trying to win his 3rd title in 6 seasons.
You know, he has really, you know, this franchise has always been good, but Greg Popovich takes over and takes it to another level. You know, it is a class organization all the way through, and you have Tim Duncan, who is a class player, and Pop says it's all due to Tim Duncan because he can get on him. Tim takes it, all the other players follow, and it makes it for a great situation for everybody.
And pretty much why the San Antonio Spurs can go under the radar so much. There's not a lot of friction. It seems to be almost the good ship lollipop in a way.
It really is
the embodiment of the team.
And he's Mr. Fundamental. He doesn't do anything exciting except for, you know, as a coach, I've always thought 32 points and 18 rebounds is pretty exciting to me, but a lot of people don't see that in him.
Last foul was on Parker, his first. Payton gets a nice screen but can't get the shot away and throws it away in the corner.
Well, if you're Greg Popovich, you love the Spurs defense right now. And if you're Phil Jackson, you like it also. And the reason I say that, the Spurs are always good defensively. The best in the league for the last 5 years. The Lakers this year, if they have one area of disappointment, it's been on the defensive end. So right now, Phil Jackson has to like the way his team is defending the Spurs.
And Malone got a hand.
Well, this is the reach-in out we talked about before the game. Malone knows he does not want Duncan to get it above his shoulder, so he's going to reach. Maybe the best reaching big man in our league, and that time he was caught. I guarantee you that Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, and all the Spurs alerted the referees before the game to watch Karl Malone's reaching.
Dick Pavetta, Jim Clark, and Tony Brothers are the officials today. Duncan shot only 59.8% from the free throw line this year. These two teams, if you think about it, the marquee matchup in the playoffs, these were the 2 worst free throw shooting teams in the NBA. I guess not surprising if you can think of O'Neal's problems, but Antonio sort of snuck up on everybody as the Lakers turn it over and Parker goes coast to coast and scores. But now they're going to say that Duncan got his hand into the cylinder and they're going to wave off the basket.
I think it's a good call. I was very close, but I thought as the ball was going down, Tim Duncan touched the ball at the very top. So I think it was a good call, but it's very close to see. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's a good call.
It is. Ball looked like it was coming out, so the Lakers get it back. Period approaching the halfway mark and only 11 total points in the game. Bowen staying with Bryant. Kobe leaning in and trying to draw the foul. Duncan wants a walk. It's a foul.
And Duncan's right. You know, Kobe made the fake and then took this extra step, and that is a travel. You can see it right here. That's 1. He can't take another step. That's 2. And he got away with it and then drew the foul.
If that's the number 8 guy on a team with a 3rd guy off the bench, it's traveling, right?
Yes, yes. Actually, you know, it was tricky because I think the officials were tricked on that play also. I thought they thought he was going to stop. These guys are so good now at picking up when they travel, when they don't, when they carry, when they don't. They take it to the edge, and there is times, obviously, they get away with it, but it is a tough call to make.
Margin when he gets the call, and he makes both. Kobe an 85% free throw shooter during the regular season, and the Laker lead is their biggest of the game. The 21-year-old Parker will be 22 before the month is out. To Bowen. Shaq fighting for the rebound with Bowen.
And big.
And the foul is on Bowen.
Yeah, that's big, because now, you get Ginobili in, who obviously gives this team energy, and right now they might lead Ginobili's offense, but it takes Bruce Bowen off of Kobe Bryant, and that is never a good thing if you're the Spurs.
Lakers shooting 30%, Spurs 25%. Halfway through the first quarter, Lakers by 3. Jackson, meanwhile, 42-4 overall in playoff series. Popovich has won 2 titles. Jackson seeking his 10th, which would break a tie with Red Auerbach for the most in NBA history.
Al, 11-0 is pretty impressive by Popovich until you see Phil Jackson is 37-0.
Amazing. Meanwhile, Ginobili's in, Bowen's out, and there is Shaquille O'Neal, who called himself a facilitator in the Houston series. I think between the lines it meant, you know what, I'll do whatever, I'll make assists, they can double and triple me and all that. But he's not going to be a facilitator in this series, I don't think, Doc. I think he's going to score a lot more.
No, he will not be a facilitator. And the reason is, again, in the Houston series, they doubled him before he caught it and when he caught it. But now they're single covering. One thing that's very tough to do is front Shaquille O'Neal. And what the Lakers are doing, they know that the Spurs are going to front him. They're raising Karl Malone above the free throw line, so it's too long for Tim Duncan to come. And that's how Shaq got that first dunk.
Robert Horry, who has killed the Spurs in the past, is a member of the Rockets and the Lakers, and now wears a San Antonio uniform. Comes into the game. Meanwhile, the last foul was on Kobe Bryant, his first. Turkoglu pressured by George, and Payton comes down with a rebound. Gary backs it off. Bryant. Malone. Now Kobe again, who was picked up by Ginobili. Points in the last few seconds. 12-5. Los Angeles with Duncan on the bench for San Antonio.
Greg Popovich expected a little bit of this early on. He said we've had so much rest that we're not in game shape, and it might take us a quarter to get it going.
Nesterovic. And they still can't get it going.
That's just the presence of Shaq. Nesterovic had to fade a little bit further than he usually does because he knew that Shaq was around.
Shaquille again. To Bryant. Three-pointer. Parker comes down with it. Ginobili will take the 3. Ginobili was a starter for a lot of the season. Then Popovich put him on the bench. He comes off the bench for the last half of the year and came very close to winning the 6th man award. Little wraparound bounce pass into Malone, who gets tied up and has it taken away. Parker. A 1-on-3. And he's fouled.
Now, this is exactly the way the Spurs have to play to win this series. The first 7 minutes have been a half-court game. The Lakers will win that battle all day because they're just too big. But if you turn this into a speed series, I think the San Antonio Spurs win that type of game.
Duncan came off the bench to salute the 21-year-old Parker, who grew up in France. He misses on the free throw, but they've shaved a 7-point deficit to 5. The foul is on Gary Payton. The Lakers are up by a deuce. More than 3.5 to go in the opening period. O'Neal missing off the glass. Parker. Down in the corner. And they've erased a 7-point deficit. Just like that. Devin Brown, local kid. Grew up here. Went to Texas, San Antonio.
Energy. Pushing the ball up the floor. That's the X factor that Ginobili brings when he walks on the floor.
And for the Lakers, right now it's an X-rated factor because the Spurs are doing this with Duncan on the bench. Good ball movement. And then in and out from Parker. I see a shot like that. I think of Ori last year as a Laker almost beating San Antonio. Payton missing.
Boy, Payton's getting point-blank looks right now, and they're not falling for him.
And timeout is called by San Antonio. So Popovich puts Duncan on the bench down by 7. They quickly get 7. Brown ties the game with 2:32 to go in the first period.
Recognize him everywhere he goes. He told me it's a dream come true to be wearing the same uniform as his childhood idols George Gervin and David Robinson.
He is a man about town right now and seeking a ring, something that some of his teammates have 2 of, others 1. And he wound up tying the game and erasing a 7-point deficit while Duncan was on the bench. Meanwhile, Ori had come into the game when it was a 5-point deficit, and Robert has made a big difference as Malone shoots over him and misses, and here comes Brown bringing the ball back up court. Duncan is free, and over Medvedenko, who has come into the game for
So sound, Al, that it makes it almost impossible to guard.
And Malone loses the ball out of bounds, so Duncan comes back, and the Lakers have to put O'Neal on the bench and bring Medvedenko, Fisher, and Rush into the game. Bryant and Malone remain in the lineup, so Popovich was able to erase that lead with the big man on the bench. Now he's back in while O'Neal rests. It's a 9-0 San Antonio run. Duncan, and Bryant was able to block it and take it away. Derek Fisher, starter on the Lakers championship teams. Then he lost his starting job when they signed Gary Payton. But Fisher seeing more and more action late in the season and in the playoffs against Houston.
Yeah, he came through during the playoffs. Gary Payton didn't play much in the fourth quarter. A couple of games he didn't play at all. And Derek Fisher really came through. And I thought down the stretch of that series, Phil Jackson fell upon the Gary Payton-Fisher in together combination, which I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that in this series as well.
Fisher over Parker. And the Lakers can't get anything to drop. Lakers now shooting 28% in the first period. 0 for their last 6. Spurs still on that 9-0 run. Make it 11-0 now. Brown again. 16 goes.
If you're a scorer, you're a scorer. Devin Brown is a scorer. You know, if he even put in a different situation like playing defense on Kobe, that's one thing. But when you can score anyway. And so you're looking at him, he's free. He's going to take a shot because it's in his norm.
Meanwhile, he was just beaten on the defensive end as you take a look at what he does offensively.
I mean, there's no thought in that. He just catches and shoots it because that's what he likes doing.
Bryant went by him, and I think every white shirt in the building then converged on Bryant under the basket. The foul is on Brown. Kobe makes the first of 2 with a half-minute to play in the period.
So right now, if you look at this first quarter, Al, Greg Popovich said we probably would come out slow, and he just wanted to make sure that the Lakers didn't get a lead that they couldn't come back on. That hasn't happened. Phil Jackson was concerned about their defense, saying we've been very inconsistent defensively. So right now, if you look at the first quarter, both coaches are extremely happy the way the game is going.
About a 3-second differential between the game clock and shot clock. Parker goes by Bryant as if Kobe was tied to the floor.
He was. I mean, that was just speed. Now, the young player now wants to dribble around. Parker just said, I'm quicker than you, and I'm going to use it.
Meanwhile, Kobe with a bank shot that goes, and he traveled. That time they got the traveling call.
Now, what Kobe is arguing, he's saying that he was bumped, and that's what made him travel. But it was an excellent call. See, this is the bump that Kobe is saying. I don't think it was enough. I thought it was a great call.
3 and a fraction seconds remaining as the final shot of the period goes in by Parker. Leaning forward, off balance, and the San Antonio Spurs, who were down by 7, a figurative nanosecond to go in the first period, up by 7.
That's speed. All he did again, he puts the ball on the floor, and he says, I don't need a dribble move. I'm quicker than the guys are guarding me, and I'm going to get my shot off.
This is ABC Sports, home of the NBA Finals. Spurs by 7.